Welcome to Lift Your Story podcast with guest Suthar, CEO and founder of Uncensored Society. Hi, everyone. I am Lori Ann. I am that gal from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I'm with.
I am that guy. I am Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas. Welcome to our Lift Your Story podcast.
In this episode, we welcome Suthar, and she's the CEO and founder of Uncensored Society. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me on your show. We're looking forward to this for a while.
Great. So, Kay, you started out, you said you had some depression and some health issues. And from there, you wrote a book, you became a coach. So can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Oh my goodness, where do I start? So, gosh, my younger years, like when I was in my 20s, I was really going from job to job to job. I was in a bad relationship, and it got really toxic to the point that I was even suicidal at one point, you know. I wanted everything to stop, and I thought the only way that it's going to stop if I take myself out, right? And I guess I was just trying to find myself, and got involved with the wrong circles of people, right? Because the environment you keep, the people you keep around you, affects you mentally, physically. And so I kind of went on this journey where I was, with someone in a bad relationship, had to figure out the way I'm going to kind of divert myself out from that situation. And I was with this person for 5 years, and it wasn't easy because he was very controlling, and when you get in that situation where when everyone around you is telling you you're not good enough, you kind of just realize that maybe it is me, maybe it's not everybody, it is me. And so it just kind of spiraled from there. And then I had no idea, right, what I wanted to be. When people used to ask me when I was younger, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like, I want to be rich. I don't know how it's going to happen or how I'm going to get there, but that's what I want to be. And so most of my 20s, I went from job to job to job to job to job to job, trying to figure out what the hell do I want to do, right? What do I want to be? What do I enjoy doing? And it was almost like family and friends were telling me, you know what, you're living wrong. You need to stick to one thing, stick to a job, and do your years in there, retire, and then live your life. And I'm like, well, what if I want to live my life right now? Right? What if I don't want to wait? And so I was doing so many different things. I mean, God, I worked in a magistrate's court. Then I was an interpreter for deaf children and worked with youths. Then I was a hairdresser. Then I did MMA fighting and became a fighter. And then I was a police officer. Then I did voiceovers for children's books. Like everything was completely different to the last thing I did. Right? And I see your face, Roy, but you know what is the biggest shocker when I actually tell people this live and you can't see it on a digital platform, is that I'm actually only 4'11", right? And so when people see me and they're like, wait, you was an MMA fighter and a police officer? How did that happen? Right? But my biggest motivator was the fact that people kept telling me I wasn't good enough, or it's never going to happen. You're living in a dream world, right? You need to start, thinking about reality. And I was like, well, why do I need to be? I'm in my little bubble. It's quite fun being in my bubble. I'm doing different things. Why do I need to be doing something else that other people are doing that I don't see a benefit to? And so I carried on, and I was always a black sheep in my family. Even to this day, my parents keep saying to me, I don't know what's wrong with you, but they even have like this little joke with me saying that maybe we muddled the babies up in the hospital. We maybe picked up the wrong child. I know. Right? And but as things progressed and I kind of realized not what I wanted to do, but what I didn't want to do, what I didn't want to be, where I didn't see myself going, right? And so I kind of worked around that. And then, God, I had so many different health issues pop up just when I thought I got everything together. I was like, right? MMA fighting. I love doing it because beating the shit out of people is so much fun, right? And so, and I was like, this is it. I trained my ass off. My coach told me that I was ready for my first fight. And guess what? It was going to be in Thailand. And I'm like, oh my God, that's where, MMA fighting was born, in Thailand. And so I trained and trained and trained. And then it all went wrong. I ended up in hospital, dislocated my shoulder. My collarbone got jabbed into my neck, dislocated my right hip. And then everything had like a domino effect. Went into the hospital. I couldn't move my neck at all. I had like a collar around my neck. They checked me out and they said to me, if you carry on fighting, you're going to end up paralyzed, because apparently my vertebrae was all out of whack. And so at that point I was like, damn, I've got to quit doing this. I've got to figure this out again. So I was back at square one and having to figure this out again. And so then I decided, okay, let me try the police force. And in fact, when I applied for the police force, I applied as a complete joke. I did not think that they would even take me on. Right? And I was like, let's just give this a go. I was online looking at different jobs. I was like, let's just give it a go. Applied for that. And I was like, holy crap, I'm getting suited and booted for a uniform. Right? And so then that happened. I was like, okay, and I was a police officer for 6.5 years. So it was a really long time. I enjoyed it, fighting crime. I felt like a superhero. And so I was doing it for 6.5 years, and it happened again. I ended up getting sick, and I ended up in hospital. So I remember waking up one morning, jumping into the shower. As soon as the hot water touched my skin, it just started burning. I jumped back out, went to the mirror, and saw my entire body. Overnight, I got a rash. And so I went to the hospital, had my checks and everything done, and I waited in the consultation room for my doctor to come in to give me my results. And I remember he opened the door, took one step in, and he looked straight at me and goes to me, you were lucky to get here when you did. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What's going on? And he goes, if you didn't get here when you did, your throat would have closed up. Oh. And I was like, holy crap, what if my throat closed up during the night? But, I would never have woken up the next morning. So I said to him, how did this happen? And how can I stop it? Like, what's going on? And he goes, well, this form of rash is brought on when your body is overly stressed. So I didn't realize how much stress this job was taking a toll on my body, like mentally and physically and emotionally, because you're around negativity all the time. Nothing about the job is positive apart from, catching the bad guy. And so I was like, okay, well, I've got to quit this job now. I can't do this anymore. What do I do now? And so I got to the point where I was like, this whole owning a business and, living by my own rules sounds pretty cool. Let me see what entrepreneur actually means. What, everyone keeps saying this word. What does it actually mean to have your own business? And so I decided to go down the entrepreneurial journey. And I decided, again, out of the blue, no qualifications, no experience. I was like, I want to go into live events. Again, people were like, you are nuts, you're crazy, no one's gonna hire you, right? You don't know a thing about events. I was like, no, I don't, but that's what I want to do. And you know what? I don't just want to do this locally, I want to be international. I want to be traveling the world. And they're like, again, you're living in the dream world. It's not going to happen to you, right? Get a normal job. And a week went by and I met someone who started talking to me at a seminar that I went to. First time I went to a seminar, I didn't even know what it was. Started speaking to this lady, and she was like asking me, what are your qualifications, what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, what your skills are. And I go to, so what do you do? And she goes to me, do you know what, I work for this company and they're actually building out their live events department, and I think you'd be great for the role. And I'm like, really? I was like, you do realize I have no idea how to do events? And she was like, as long as you want to do it, and as long as you're willing to learn, then that's not a problem. Within a week, I was then signed up with this company, right? I was on the events department, the first person they hired in the events department. And they said to me, what are you doing in 2 days? I was like, well, I haven't got anything planned. And they were like, okay, great. We need to make sure that you have your bags packed because you're going to your first event in Malaysia.
Wow.
And I was like, holy crap. I was like, well, what about flights and hotels? And they're like, don't worry about it. The company has sorted it. They're paying for it. All your expenses are paid. You just got to make sure you're at the airport with your bags packed. And so I was doing that for about 5 years, traveling around, doing events, learned everything I needed to know about live events, became an event manager within 4 months with a company. I then decided that I wanted to learn how to do sales, that back of room sales. How does that work? Started doing front end sales, then did back end sales and progressed, and then became the #1 closer in the company. And the great thing about this was I was around business owners, entrepreneurs. I was learning from these speakers that were now going on stage talking about different aspects of business. So I was all of a sudden in this right environment that I've been longing to be in, and learning events with people that I work with now. We're learning about business, learn about sales, marketing, all this great stuff. And again, I was doing it for some years, traveling around. It was awesome. Like, it was paradise, right? Having expenses paid, being paid on top, learning how to do this, making money. Like, it couldn't be any better. And then it happened again. I was then brought with the news that the company is shutting down. And I'm like, holy crap, here we go again. And at this point, the company asked me to move to Costa Rica to be part of this mastermind events there. So now, not only has the company shut down, but I'm now homeless in the country and I don't even speak the language. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, this is such a ridiculous situation to be in. I've been evicted from my apartment because the company's accounts got shut down, no longer paying for it. Because they were paying for my food and water, the company got shut down. There's no food and water. So now I'm in this foreign country, don't speak the language, don't have food, water, don't have my basic needs met. And I remember all I could do was sit there and just laugh as to how ridiculous this situation is. And I remember looking across the room and seeing my co-workers, and they were stressing out, they were crying, they were frustrated, they're putting, their hair out their head. And they looked at me and they're like, why are you laughing? What's wrong with you? Like, do you realize what's just happened? And I'm like, yeah, I do realize what's happened. That's exactly why I'm laughing. I go, because my perspective is, when you think about Tony Robbins of the world, the Bob Proctors of the world, the Les Browns of the world, they were all homeless at one point and now they're multi-millionaires. So in my mind, I was like, holy crap, I'm going to be a millionaire. It's bound to happen now, right? And because I had a different perspective on things, I realized that I was able to think outside the box and get creative and find a solution. Because I knew that this was going to be temporary. It's not going to be a permanent situation for me. And it's now down to me to figure out how I'm going to get out of this situation. And so what I did do is I realized that, holy crap, in the last few years, I've learned so much about bringing leads in, customers, branding, sales, marketing. So I decided to go to different hotels and resorts where the event was being held in Costa Rica and say to them, look, this is what's happened. This is what I can do for you. Let me help you bring customers in. I would say to them, but in return, I need my basic needs met. I need shelter, food, and water. And when they realized that's all I was asking for, and if they did get a coach to help them out, it will cost them thousands of dollars. So they accepted. I help them out, help them bring in clients, help them make money, show them how to promote, how to brand, how to get online. You don't need to spend, so much money on expensive photographers or anything like that. Everything is online. It's so doable. And I did that for a few weeks and then raised the money as I went to different, restaurants and hotels on the coast, raised the money. Some of them asked for a little bit of money to show them how to do this, and then was able to get a flight back to the UK. But if I stayed in my misery, if I went into that dark place, I would probably still be there, right? I would have got myself out of that situation. And so one of my superpowers that I learned about myself is that I do have a different perspective. I'm able to see things that most people can't. And I'm so grateful for that. And whereas people think, oh my gosh, she's in a dream world, I would rather be in that dream world because I can come up with solutions to get myself out of sticky situations that a lot of people will find difficult.
Wow.
Very interesting.
So to keep that short, that's what happened.
Wow. I mean, that's hard to believe. Just, all those jobs and all that, then how you were able to adapt and overcome, just like you say, kind of thinking outside the box,
Right.
saved you.
The thing is, what people need to realize is that the world is not going to adapt around you. You've got to adapt around the world, right? There's going to be things that's going to be thrown at you, and you can't be scared of taking risks because then you'll never really know your true potential. And so as long as you are someone that is solution based, then there's no way you can go wrong. Learn to fail, and learn to fail big is one of the things that I've learned, because the biggest mistakes I've made, trust me, they've been the biggest, learning steps for me. And I can guarantee you that there's no way I'm going to be homeless again. It's never going to happen. Right? It's not going to happen ever. And so, yeah, if you're going to fail as many times as possible and fail big, because that's when you realize that you're that step closer to success, to achieving that goal that you long for.
Yeah, failing forward, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I like that risk thing. I'm a big fan of Leo Buscaglia. I used to write to him, he'd write me back. I even invited him to my wedding, believe it or not. And I did end up meeting him in Reno, but one of his books on living, loving, and learning, and he has a great thing, but one of the lines in there is, to risk nothing is to gain nothing. And that whole, if you ever get a chance to read that, it really is a wonderful paragraph that he wrote in the book.
Oh, brilliant.
So tell us about your book.
Oh, goodness. So my book is called Never Judge a Book by Its Cover. And that name really comes from because of so many people telling me that I couldn't do something because either I was, a female, or because of my cultural background, or because I was 4'11". And so I use that as a motivator to prove to everybody that it doesn't matter about any of these things. If you really want to do it, then I'm going to do it. And in fact, I'm going to prove every single one of you wrong. And so because I was judged so much for different things, that's where the name actually came from. And so the book is really, I really put my heart on my sleeve when I wrote this book. Like, I literally cried at certain chapters when I wrote this book, because it's all about the different things that I experienced, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I wrote this book really as a preventative measure for anyone else that's going through anything negative. So they're able to relate, and they know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that everyone has choices. Anyone that tells me, oh no, I didn't have a choice because of X, Y, and Z, is absolute BS. Every single person has choices, and it's up to you whether how you want to choose to live your life. If you want to go down that dark path and live a life of misery, then that's completely 100% your choice. But if you decide to make a change and you want to take a different route in your path, then again, that's a choice that you need to make, and you got to make it work for yourself. And so I just want to let people know that no matter what you're going through, relationships with parents, with peer pressure, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, you have a choice to make a change, and it's 100% down to you.
Agree with that.
Yeah. Well, I see you started a school as well.
Oh no, I didn't start a school as such. So, oh God, let me tell you a story about that. Like, I love when things just happen out of the blue, right? So, I was living in Bali, and my landlady, she came to me, like me and her were good friends, that we were like family in the end. And she said to me, "Kay, I've got a problem." And I was like, well, "What's going on?" And she goes, "Well, my son and my daughter both want to go English classes." And she goes, "Normally what happens is you always let the older child go to English classes because we can't afford all of our kids to take English because we have to pay for it. And therefore, because my son is the oldest, he would be able to go." And her daughter was so upset that she couldn't go. And why is it my brother that gets to go and I can't go, and all this kind of stuff. And she was 7 at the time, so she didn't understand entirely why it works that way. And so I said to her, "Well, you know what? Why don't you just bring her over to my place, and I'd be happy to sit with her an hour a day and we can learn English together." Right? And she's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, I've got no problem with that. We'll do reading, we'll do writing, we'll speak, we'll do all of that good stuff. No problem at all." And she was like, "Oh my goodness," right? So she told her daughter was so, so excited. I remember her coming to my place an hour before with her book bag, her pens, everything ready to get started to learn English, right? And we had our first lesson and she absolutely loved it. She didn't want to go home. She was like, "Can we do more? Can we do more?" And I was like, "It's all good. You're going to come back to me tomorrow anyway. We'll do some more then." What I didn't expect this little girl to do is to go and tell all her neighbors, her classmates, her cousins, that she's learning English with me. And so a few days later, all of a sudden, instead of having this one girl come to my place, I had 6. I had 6 young kids come to me to learn English, and I wasn't about to turn them away. And so then I had like a little courtyard outside. It was really nice, with like palm trees and like beautiful plants and flowers. And we sat outside under the sun. And I used to bring out drinks for everyone, and we'll have British chocolates. They love the British chocolates, right? And we used to just learn English and just like, the alphabet and numbers and animals and colors and all this kind of stuff. And it just grew and grew and grew to a point I had 14 people in this class now. So it wasn't an English school as such. It was a class that I didn't intend to start, and it just grew.
Sweet.
Wow.
Yes. So that was amazing for sure. And they were so excited. They used to turn up to my house so early, so keen. And it just shows you that we take all of this for granted, that we're so privileged or we're so spoiled, right? And, something so small meant so much to them, so much. And so that was an amazing experience that they gave me, really.
I was just going to ask you, did you get more out of it from them than you gave to them?
I think I did, because there was a lot of things that they taught me. Like I didn't realize that, first of all, I could, teach young kids. I didn't realize that I was able to relate to them, interact with them. Like, there was so much I learned about myself with them. And so that was amazing.
So how long did you do that with them?
Oh, about 6 months.
Really?
It was a long time, yeah.
And what change did you see from the first time you met with them to when you quit teaching them?
Do you know what? The biggest change was their confidence. Their confidence really boosted. In the beginning, they were really shy. They didn't know how to pronounce certain letters in the alphabet, and the biggest difference that I found that maybe in the Western culture that we have is that all of them supported each other. They didn't pick on each other. They didn't bully each other. They didn't tease each other. They would support each other and be like, you know what, don't worry. If you can't say it, it'll be fine. You'll be able to say it later. It's okay, you know? And I remember one of this young kid, he was 8 years old, and he started crying because he didn't know the difference of how to say S and X. And it was the same to him. And he got so upset, he started crying because he was like, he doesn't understand why he can't do this and everyone else can. You know, but the other kids huddled around him and hugged him and told him it's fine, it's okay, you're going to be able to say it, will help you. You know, and that was the biggest difference, you know, because anyone else in the Western world, they would have teased him.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, kids can be brutal when they're young.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was amazing to watch as well. I was like, wow, it really doesn't have to be that hard. You know, people don't need to be bullies or teasing anyone. And yeah, they didn't believe in that at all. They didn't do that. That was not their culture.
Wow. Well, how can our listeners reach out to you?
Oh, the best way to reach out to me is actually through my website. It's www.uncensoredsociety.com. Has all my social media links on there. Feel free to PM me as well. If you have any questions, there is going to be a lot of different things out there. I'm redoing my website as well. And I also have a podcast website, which is Uncensored Society podcast.com. There's loads of information on there as well. I'm also opening up a podcast agency. So you'll see all of that going on there. So if you have any questions at all regards to coaching, podcasting, then do reach out to me by either email or sending me a PM on social media.
Cool. Wow.
So
Hey,
much.
would you be interested in coming back at some point?
Yeah, definitely. Just let me know when you're ready and I'll be there.
Great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Great story. Very inspirational.
Oh my God, thank you for having me here. You guys are actually really, really awesome. I like the energy that you both, you know, give off. Like it really works really well.
Appreciate that.
No worries.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting you, and thanks for being our guest.
Thank you.
No worries. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Take care. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit us at lifterstory.com.